Here we go.
Section 6, page 47, questioning forward. Now, we keep talking about the basics. What are the basics? Let's take a look at what the basics really are. Here's where the customer comes into the dealership, this line here. And if you want, you can draw a line on the page like I did. And this is when the customer leaves. So here's when the customer gets into the dealership, and here's where the customer leaves the dealership. Now, we said at the very beginning, people don't buy from people that they don't what? Like. So the first step to the basics is like. We already know that 71% of the people that purchase vehicles told NADA in a survey that they bought because they liked who? Their salesperson. Now, after they like us, they start to listen. Is that right? Do they ever listen before they like us? Never. Because if they don't like us, they don't what? They don't listen. Now, after they start to listen, then they start to believe. And then once they believe, then they buy. So the basics are like, listen, believe, buy. Now, how do we get them to like us? How do we get them to listen? How do we get them to believe? Okay, so first, is it safe to say that we need to have a great first impression? How about a warm and friendly greeting? How about building rapport? Is that important? And after we build a little bit of rapport with the customer, is it safe to say that we should probably investigate for their wants and needs? And after we investigate for their wants and needs, it'd probably be a good idea to take them on a product presentation. Is that about right? And after a presentation, we'll take the customer on a demonstration. And after a demonstration, we'll walk them through where? Service. And after they go through the service department, they come back inside and they see our what? Our evidence manual, which is nothing but a collection of proof of everything we've been telling the customer so far is true. So that's the basics. Up here is the thought process that goes on through the customer's mind. And down here is what you and I are to do in the showroom to get the customers through this thought process. Because if we do a good job on a great first impression, a warm and friendly greeting, we build rapport and we investigate, all of a sudden, like happens. Does that make sense? Yeah. And after like happens, they settle down a bit. They're like, all right, this person's okay. This seems like the right place. And then once they start to listen, now we've earned the right to do a product what? Presentation, because we got the like out of the way. Now we can do a presentation, demonstration, walk them through service, and by that time what happens? They start to what? They start to believe. And then once they believe, then they'll buy. Too many salespeople go straight from welcome to our dealership, they leave the vehicle, the customer's vehicle or the curb, and they walk straight to our vehicle. There's no rapport. Forget first impression. They're not even thinking about that. No rapport. The customer don't like the salesperson. Therefore, they're not listening. And since they go from the curb to the car, they're already on the presentation step. And since they're not listening, what is the customer hearing when we're doing a presentation? They just hear somebody pitching, selling, trying to make something expensive so we can grab their what? Money. So we got commission breath because there's no rapport. They don't even like us. The customer feels like we're just reaching for the wallet and they're slapping our hand. And then there's a fight. And there's a grind. All the way till if you get lucky and get them back in the showroom. But 9 times out of 10, if they don't like you and they're not listening, they ask us for a card and they want to go where? Somewhere, right? Just not there. And then we give them a dismissal slip or business card, right? And they take the business card and what do they do with it? They pick their teeth with it. Y'all know that's what they do. They pick their teeth with it and they throw it on the floor. Right, Ed? You ever get in the car to appraise it and there's like 5 business cards in there? Half of them are folded in half. So how, yeah, they've been cleaning their nails with it. How important are the basics? The basics are everything. It's everything. Now, should we tell our way through the basics? Should the customer come in and say, well, here at our dealership, here's how we do business? we have a process here, and what we need to do first is the first step. Is that what we want to do? Of course not. We just question our way through the basics. But first, we've got to have a great first impression. Where does the first impression start?
As soon as they walk through the door. As soon as you start, first moment you see them.
First moment you see the customer? Okay. When they walk through the door, somebody else who said what? First eye contact. Where does the first impression start?
Meet and greet.
At the meet and greet, what do you think? Right when you see them, what do you think, Ed? They pulling a lot? What do they see? Do they see a huddle? I want you to write this down. The first impression starts at home. Write it down. The first impression starts at home. What does that mean? Yeah, when we're getting ready. That means that we got to be game ready, right? Yes or no?
Yes.
We got to be game ready. We got to look good. We got to feel good. We got to be in the right frame of mind before we ever go out there and touch a customer, right? So the first impression starts at home. Now, after the first impression, we said that there should be a warm and friendly greeting, right? How's your greeting? Something so simple that we practice at the dealership. Someone taught us and we taught someone. It's usually something like, welcome to our dealership. My name is Daryl. Really nice to meet you. Sure is a great day, isn't it? Yes, it is. Is this your first time to our dealership or have you been here before? Actually, it's our first time. Awesome. Did you have an appointment or just stopping by? Actually, I had an appointment. I'm here to see Phil. Great. I'll get Phil for you right away. Now, I had a warm and friendly greeting. I had an intro in there. I got a quick yes. I asked the either or question. And after I asked the either or question, I said I'd get Phil right away. Is that right? Yeah. So, it's nothing but questions. Did I tell the customer anything? No, just welcome. My name is, your name is. It's all questions. So we're starting to question our way through the process, through the basics. Now, after our warm and friendly greeting, we're going to build rapport. A lot more questions, right? 7 friends of building rapport. Who, what, where, when, how, have, which. It's just asking open-ended questions. Most salespeople think that building rapport is just finding common ground. But it's not really just common ground, which it is finding common ground, but we also want the customer to talk about who? Themselves. Talk about them. It's not about us, it's about the customer, right? So as we build a little bit of rapport, we're going to investigate at the same time. And while we're investigating, we're going to ask either or questions. What type of vehicle were you looking for? Were you looking for something pretty much like what you have now or something a little bit different? Were you looking for something new or used? Were you looking for something that's going to be, that you're going to drive like mostly, or is someone else going to be driving? We're just going to investigate a little bit. Now, when we investigate, should we find hot buttons?
Yes.
What's a hot button? What's important to the customer, which brings me to the presentation. If we find their hot button, should we talk about what they want to know about the vehicle on the presentation, or just what we want to sell them? It's what they want to know about. So we have to be good what? Listeners. And after we do the presentation, should we ask them to go on a demo, or should we assume that they want to drive it? We should assume that they want to drive it. There's only 2 objections that come up when we go for a demo. The first one is, I don't have enough what? Well, that one's easy. You know what? I don't have a whole lot of time myself because I do have some appointments coming in. Did you want to take the long route or the short route? What would they say? Short route. Great. Buckle up. What's the other objection? They already what? I don't need to drive it. I already drove it at the other dealership. Is that right? Great. But you know what? That concerns me because these vehicles normally sell themselves. You know what? Let me show you some of the features on the vehicle the other salesperson may have missed. Buckle up. What do you think would happen if they're sitting there in the passenger side and you're doing your feature advantage benefit presentation? They're going to buckle up. Now, when we get back from the demonstration, we walk them through service. Why do we walk a customer through service?
Sell a dealership.
Sell the dealership. What were we taught from the beginning of time in the car business? Sell ourselves, sell the product, and sell the what? The dealership. So now we walk them through service, build value before we negotiate, right? And when they come inside, they see our evidence manual, which is nothing but a collection of proof of everything that we've been talking about so far is true. Things about your dealership, things about your family, and things about your product. That's what goes in an evidence manual. Not a picture of your boat or your biggest fish you caught, not a picture of your house or anything like that, but pictures of your family, thank you cards from your customers, things like that. An evidence manual. All right, so how do we get through these basics? It's not so basic, is it? It's called the basics, but it's not so basic. You see, so many things around these basics have changed in our industry that some of us need to do something to get back to these basics. And if you have the wrong process in place in the dealership, it's almost impossible to get to those basics. Because what's the first thing that happens when a customer comes onto the lot? You can say, welcome to our dealership. My name is Daryl. Really nice to meet you. How much is it? And we don't have our game face on, right? How much is it? Well, don't want to ask that because I don't have my game what on. And then it's like, well, what are my payments going to be? Well, I'm trying to go through the basics, but I couldn't get past the greeting, right? What's my payments going to be? Well, as far as payments, my business manager handles that. And speaking of the payments, and we kind of fumble through it. It's kind of hard to get through those basics unless we know how to bypass price, trade, interest rate, or any other objections or obstacles that get in the way, or concerns. And you know, most salespeople make concerns into big objections because of what we say. So in the next segment, we're going to learn the 3 questions that effective closers ask. Effective closers learn these 3 questions, and it's the basis of everything else that we do. Now, if someone does say, how much is it? Well, my used car manager handles all the prices on these vehicles, and I'll be happy to get that for you guys as soon as he's available. By the way, I wanted to ask, what'd you like best about the Suzuki Forenza? Did you like the way it looks, or do you like the way it drives? Well, actually, I looked at one at another place, and I wanted to come over here and see what kind of deal I could get. Great, I'll be glad to help you with that. Where are you guys from? Well, I'm from over there. Really? How long have you been over there? Well, I used to live over here. Now I'm over there. Now we're building a little bit of what? And then I'm going to go into another question because I'm going to start investigating. Is that right? Which is going to be either or. So we got to be able to effectively communicate. We're going to have a high quality interaction between the salesperson and the customer to be able to get through these basics and to do it effectively so we can close more sales. Now, no matter how good you are you going to close everybody? No, but the car business is about odds. Our business is about odds. We want to increase our odds. Now, we're not going to get everyone through these basics, but the further we get through these basics with everyone, the more successful you'll be. The more deals you'll close, the more gross you'll hold, and the more fun you'll have, and your job's going to be a lot easier, and you can now make it a career instead of a job. Does that make sense? But we got to be masters of these basics. So let's get into the questions.